Hey, hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Chastity. Here we talk about beauty, entertainment, celebrities, books, movies, anime, TV shows, and kind of anything else that garners my attention this week. Hey y'all, how y'all been? I know it's been a minute since the last time you guys see me over here on YouTube. Like I keep saying, I've been like really invested in TikTok. It's just I've been given a lot of opportunities, so I've been like focusing over there. But of course, I had to come back here to talk to you guys about Love is Blind because that was a whole mess. And I just need to speak about this before the finale, not finale, but the reunion comes out tonight. If you don't know what Love is Blind is, it is a Netflix reality dating show. The whole premise is to find out whether or not love is blind. So the contestants date in these pods where they do not see each other, and they're speed dating with other contestants until we end up with 5 pairs of engaged couples. Yes, engaged after talking for what, a week, maybe 2 weeks. And then we end up going back into the real world where they're trying to see if their lives can fit with each other, and at the end they have a wedding and they decide whether or not love is blind. So hopefully everything comes out right. This video is coming out the same day the reunion is supposed to come out, which is live, and don't worry, I will be watching that, and there will be a video on that hopefully next Saturday. Here's hoping. Don't quote me on it, but I'm hoping I can do that. Because this has been, I would say, the most interesting season of Love is Blind we've had in a while. I really didn't care for season 3. Season 2 was fine. Season 1 was the best because it was the first season. It was the most organic. And I feel like since season 1, we've met a lot of cast members who are not here to fall in love genuinely, but are here to become celebrities. And we do have some of that in season 4, but I feel like we have a lot more people who genuinely want to be in love. So I'm not really gonna recap the entire season, but we will be talking about episode 12, which is the weddings, because I find that episode to be the most interesting. First couple I want to talk about is Chelsea and Kwame. I like Chelsea. I think she's delusional in the ways in which she talks about Kwame. At least from what we're seeing, the way she describes him, their relationship, their love, is not matching the video evidence we have as audience. So I don't know if it's just editors being a dick, or she truly is this delusional. But what she is saying is not what we're seeing, because she's painting this relationship out to be this like perfect fairy tale. And when you're watching the show, Kwame looks like a hostage. He looks like he's not here on his own volition when we know he is, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels like Chelsea loves him more than he loves her, and not just by a little bit, but by a lot. And Kwame looks miserable. He's looked miserable all season. And again, I'm not shocked that Chelsea said yes at the altar. I feel like Chelsea would have said yes to anybody. I feel like Chelsea really wants to be married, and she's willing to make anything work as long as she gets to be a wife. That's the vibe I get from Chelsea. I think all of the ways she describes Kwame, all the things she says about him and what she loves about him, she would be saying the exact same thing about any other man she would have been next to. I don't feel like her love for him is unique to their relationship. And Kwame don't want to be there. I'm so sorry. Especially, that's why I was so shocked when he said yes. But I feel like maybe he was like, I've made it this far, I might as well. I don't know. Because maybe he felt like his sister would beat his ass if he said no, because I would beat his ass for being there and wasting everybody's time. Because like the whole season, he just made excuse after excuse. So it painted this picture to me that he was gonna say no. Like him not wanting to move from Portland to Seattle, which is 100% his fault. Because the thing about the show is they pick a city And then they pick contestants who live in that city so it can make the transitional period from being on the show to being married and being together in the real life much easier. Kwame specifically chose to be on the season in Seattle. Seattle is almost 3 hours away from Portland. You see the issue here? He doesn't want to move, and he felt like he was compromising too much. But the problem is, this show is for people who live in Seattle. Whoever you would have been partnered with, this still would have been a major issue. And on top of that, Kwame works remote. I'm sorry, babes. If you work remote, you can move. Versus Chelsea, who she does not work remote. And if she decided to compromise and move to Portland, she would be driving 6 hours every day to and from work. That is a crazy compromise. That's not compromise. That's you being stupid. I think Kwame, I feel like if he was with Micah, he would have had no problem moving wherever she wanted to move. But I think it's because it's Chelsea, he didn't want to compromise for that. Also, I feel like Kwame and Chelsea have a really big issue because Chelsea wants to immediately start a family. Again, she's not, in my opinion, old. I think she's close to mid-30s. So I can understand why, like, after getting married, she wants to have kids. Personally, I feel like, especially since this show happens in like a month. So they meet, they get engaged, they get married in about like a month, right? So it's not like you have the trajectory of a normal relationship where you've had the time to be alone and date. You didn't have that period. You're now, after knowing each other for 30 days, being married. I think you guys should work on being alone. Just the two of you before you start popping out kids. That's also how Kwame feels. He wants to hold off on having children and he wants to live life and travel. And Chelsea doesn't want to do that. In my opinion, that is a very, very big issue in a relationship. I just feel like not being able to agree on children is a major red flag in a relationship. And I feel like it's something that people pretend like isn't very serious, but then when things don't work out your way, the relationship will fall apart anyways. I feel like if one partner does not want to have children, the other one does, you have to break up. There is no convincing a person. There's no changing anyone's mind. It never works out well for anyone if they try to do that, like, I'm gonna change your mind thing. Because either you do change that person's mind and then they're resentful towards you for the rest of your lives because you made them do something they did not want to do. I just feel like they could not agree on the children thing. Neither of them should have said I do at the altar. I really, again, not shocked by Chelsea because Chelsea desperately wanted to be married. I am 100%, shocked about Kwame, especially when he talked about the fact that, like, if he couldn't get his mother's approval, he didn't want her to take his last name. There just seemed to be a lot of stuff pointing to the fact that this was not going to work. And yet, this is where we are. I don't know how we got here. I'll be completely honest. Also, like, after they got married and Chelsea was like, I'm your wife now, I'm your wife. And I feel like she was trying to prompt him to saying, and I'm your husband now, I'm your husband. I to like play around, bounce back and forth with her. This man was laughing like he was in a hostage situation. Like, anytime she was trying to like be playful about their marriage, their new lives together, he would just like nervously laugh it off. Which, again, I am so confused why this man said yes, because he does not want to be here, and not even a little bit. It was just so awkward to see their interactions after they got married, because again, she is so much more into this than he is. And if they are still married, how can she watch this and like not look at him differently? Because personally, if I'm her, I'm getting divorced after these episodes came out. There ain't no way you gonna look miserable being in my presence 24/7. Absolutely not. The next couple I want to talk about is Micah and Paul. I'm gonna be honest, this kind of shocked me because I kind of figured that Micah and Paul we're gonna like say yes at the altar, and then like a year from now have a super messy and disastrous divorce. That's the vibe that the relationship gave me. Like, start off really good and then crash and burn spectacularly. So for them to not get married did shock me a little bit. Now, I think what shocked me was Paul saying no. Because I feel like throughout the whole show, Paul really never gave the vibe that he had any reservations until we got to the actual wedding day, where you could hear him talking. Like at first, okay, Micah and Paul have the same issue as like Chelsea and Kwame, where they're talking about the relationship, and I have no video evidence to back any of this up. Because I feel like Paul and Micah, we've never seen on camera them having a real conversation, like the type of conversation you have with a person before you get married. Like, I don't know. Talking about we have this deep connection and we get each other on a different level and our mindsets are so similar. Where? This is episode 12 and I have no proof of this, but okay. Now, again, like, Micah is up the whole time is like, I'm not really sure, which again, why are you here if you're not sure? But whatever. I think Micah knew that Paul was gonna say no. I genuinely do. But I think she wanted to play the victim. And that's why she let him go first. Because she says she let him go first because she didn't want to pressure him into saying yes. No, I think you knew he was going to say no, but you wanted to be a victim in this situation, so you let him go first. But anyways, you have Paul in his groom suite, like talking to his friends, talking about Micah. And some of his friends are definitely not sold on Micah. Smart men. They see past the bullshit. And I do enjoy the fact that his mother said to him anything other than a yes is a no. I think a lot of people, when it comes to relationships, need to keep that in mind. That if you don't have an enthusiastic yes, it's immediate no. So then, like, we get to the wedding, we get to the altar. Also, Micah's dress did not fit. Who did the tailoring for these weddings? Because they did an awful job. Because Bliss was also like spilling out of her dress. And then we'll talk about Brett and his situation. But we get to the altar. Can I just say, it needs to be a requirement to write down your vows. Because these off the dome vows, awful. Just awful. Okay, none of you are writers. And we can tell. Okay, so next time, let's prepare something, get it together. And like I mentioned earlier, when it came to the I do's, Micah let Paul go first. I know some people are saying they think she let him go first because she knew he was gonna say yes and she wanted to be the one to break his heart. I really stand by the she wanted to be a victim, specifically because, like, after this episode came out, the amount of people who were like feeling bad for her when like she spent the whole show being a nasty person. I think that's what she wanted. I truly do. I think she knew that both of them were gonna say no, but she wanted to be the victim. Especially like when her friends were laughing. Like, I feel like her friends knew and were in on it, because who laughs after your friend gets told no at the altar? Like, there's something not right about it. And I just genuinely feel like Micah wanted to feel like the victim, because not a single tear left this girl's face. I hear a bunch of sniffling, but I don't see no tears. We're watching Shorty rubbing her dry ass face, no mascara running. Like, that's another thing I don't understand why y'all felt so bad for her. I'm like, she's not crying. There's no tears. She's just making the crying sound. Like, maybe, my TV's resolution isn't that great and y'all got higher definition. Y'all got to see some tears, because I didn't see no tears. Nothing about Micah's performance after the wedding rang genuine to me. Also, look, again, like, at the end of the episode, like, Paul points out all these things, and I'm like, where were these feelings the entire show? He talks about the fact that, like, he can't see himself marrying her in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. Like, he does not see a future with her. He brings the fact that she's not a nurturing person, and she's not the type of person he can see himself having kids with, because he's never seen her be nurturing. Where were these thoughts and opinions the entire show, Paul? Because Micah has been consistent since day one. She's shown you all these things, and you've never had an issue with it until right now. I do find that weird. I'm looking at Paul, I'm side-eyeing him just a little bit. Because these were thoughts and opinions we had never heard in 12 episodes. But all of a sudden, she's this unnurturing person. And it's true, she is. Very unnurturing, very unkind, very nasty person. But she's been like this since the beginning. And you seem to love it. And you seem to have loved it this entire time. What's the problem now? But okay. I'm happy they aren't together because they don't belong together. I feel like... Also, Micah's like 25, 24, 26? In that 24 to 26 age range, I don't believe anyone under 35 needs to be on Love is Blind. I really don't, because I'm like, I feel like Love is Blind is supposed to be like your last ditch effort. Like, if I don't find nobody here, I might not find anybody anywhere, because it's Love is Blind. You willing to do a social experiment to fall in love gives, I've exhausted all other channels to find love. And it's like you're 25, 26. Why do you even want to be married at 25, 26? It's giving child bride, at least to me. As someone who will be 25 in a few months, I couldn't see myself being someone's wife. Are you insane? I'm 25. Oof. All right, let's talk about Tiffany and Brett. I have to ask the producers, why wasn't Tiffany's and Brett's wedding last? They are, without a doubt, the best couple we've had since Cam and Lauren. So I don't understand why we had their wedding third instead of last. I have questions about that. But I love Tiffany and Brent. They have the most healthy relationship out of anyone on this season. They're able to talk and communicate and have a dialogue with each other without getting angry and pissed and yelling and shouting. Their relationship feels the most real, and their wedding felt the most real. Like, it felt like a real wedding. I feel like the vibes at everyone else's weddings just didn't feel right, but like Tiffany and Brett's wedding just felt so authentic and right. They both looked beautiful. Tiffany especially with her little tiara, adorable. And I appreciate the fact that when Tiffany and Brett talk about each other, they don't just talk about what this person does for me. They hit the things these people are. They really hit each other's character, the things that make them who they are. They can pinpoint just like what type of person the other is. I think that is so beautiful. I think it's just nice to see this. I enjoyed the conversation that Brett had with Tiffany's father and him asking him for her hand. I think they had a really real conversation between, you know, father and son-in-law. I loved seeing Brett with his brothers and his friends and his dad. I feel like he has an amazing support system around him, and it's beautiful to see two Black people be so loved by the people around them, and then see two Black people love each other the way that Brett and Tiffany do. I also love the whole like groomzilla thing with Brett. His pants were baggy. Again, who tailored these clothes? He was swimming in his dress pants, and like an hour and 30 minutes before the wedding, he had to run to a tailor and get them fixed. And also shout out to him, because even in a moment of stress, still very level-headed, relatively calm, relatively rational. Because I feel like sometimes when people get under stress, they become the worst version of themselves. not Brett, which leads me to believe that like when they do go through things in the relationships, they're gonna be able to tough it out, stick through it, and really talk it through. He was also very kind to the lady who tailored his pants, because again, it's very easy for in these moments, especially on your wedding day, to go off on people, but he was still very respectful to her. Loved seeing that. And I enjoyed the fact that he was like, this is my wedding day. I'm hoping to only get married once. I'm gonna be at my best. I don't know, it's just something about that. It gives me little butterflies. I love Brett. I love Tiffany. Like I said, their wedding just felt the most real. It felt like I was going to my cousin's wedding, not like everyone else's wedding just felt kind of cold and clinical to a degree. But like Brett and Tiffany's just felt right. When Brett came out and the whole like wedding party like screamed, it was like, whoa, you look bad, good, bro. Like, that's what I want to see. And like when Tiffany came out and he broke out into tears, because again, Brett's a pretty like chill dude. I feel like we don't really see much up and down from him, so I was kind of like pleasantly surprised to see him cry. Oh, before the altar, we got Marshall was at the wedding. If you hear and you don't know, Marshall was one of the other people who was engaged. He was in the fifth couple, because I mentioned earlier 5 couples get engaged, but we're only talking about 4 weddings. He and Jackie got engaged. That crashed and burned quickly. Oh my god. Oh, that mess. Absolute mess. But Marshall didn't get to make it to the altar, but he played a really important role in Tiffany and Brett's relationship. His friendship with Marshall is again beautiful to watch. I feel like Marshall had some very real and important conversations with Brett, especially as black men, how hard it can be for them to express feelings and emotions. But he really drilled it into Brett that you need to show this woman and tell this woman that you love her every chance you get. Make sure she constantly feels love and she's never wondering if she loves you. And those like the conversations they had with each other throughout the season were beautiful. Those are 2 good men. I know some of y'all really hate Marshall, and I feel like Marshall is not without his flaws, because he is a person, but his flaws are definitely smaller than Jackie's flaws. I think he's definitely consistently trying to fix people and prove to people he is worthy of love and he's worthy of it. I do feel like he has an issue of partnering with broken people to try to fix them. I think that is a genuine issue that he has, but it's an issue that a lot of, especially people who are people pleasers, they end up in these types of relationships where they're always trying to fix people. And I feel like once he realizes that it's not his job to fix somebody, he's gonna find the right person. And I hope he understands that there is absolutely nothing wrong with being an emotional person. There's nothing wrong with wanting to talk about your feelings and your emotions with your partner. If you can't talk to your partner about these things, who can you talk about them with? I really hope this experience has not changed him too much. I feel like there is definitely things that he needs to work on. The treating your partners like a project thing, it is a problem, but something that can be fixed. And I hope he just doesn't stop loving with his whole heart. Because Jackie, I can't stand Jackie. I truly can't. Her wasted everybody's time, in my opinion. Because she even says, I don't even know if I want to get married. And that's the whole point of the show. But I digress. I really did enjoy having Brett and Marshall have this conversation. I love seeing 2 black men tell each other they love each other. It makes me feel good. I feel it in here. Can't stand y'all. But when y'all have good relations with each other, it's beautiful to see. And I'm just happy Marshall showed up to the wedding, because I wouldn't have. I'm sorry. I'm in bed going through it. Okay? But he was there, he was supportive, because Tiffany and Brett were in his corner. The wedding was beautiful. The reception was gorgeous. So much love in a room. It's beautiful to see. It really, really is. And like, they just fit. Again, we haven't really seen this since Cam and Lauren from season 1. You can't, there's not much to say, because there's no words that can be said about Brett and Tiffany's relationship. It's just feelings. I feel the love they have for each other. And it's beautiful to see a black woman be loved like this. It's beautiful to see a black man be loved like this. It's heartwarming. It's nice to see. It's also, I feel like on these dating reality shows, they pick the most self-hating black men they can find, just the worst. And it's just nice to see just two regular black men who can communicate and have a dialogue about their feelings and not be toxic and not be overbearing, and just be like, this is how I feel. This is how I feel about you. Let's talk. I feel like we don't get to see very good portrayals of black men on these reality dating shows. Like, there's always like very little to no black women, and then a lot of black men who are self-hating, super toxic. We got a good crop of black men minus Josh. Is Josh black? He's a concoction of something toxic, awful. I fucking hate Josh. It's just something about a grown man with a dangly earring. It don't stir my spirit. But Marshall and Brett, good dudes. It was nice to see this. Again, Marshall is not perfect, but his issues, very fixable. A little bit more therapy, get it all together. Long as he stops looking at people as projects, he gonna be good. He gonna be A-okay. But I'm happy for Brett and Tiffany. I really am. There really isn't much you can say, because they're the least toxic couple. I never had any like reservations about them. I knew they was gonna get to that altar and say I do. Maybe that's why their wedding felt so real. I never had a moment, there was never a moment where I thought either of them were gonna say I don't. It just felt like a regular wedding where you know these two people are going to say I do, and they're going to live off and be as happy as they can be. That's the energy I get from Brett and Tiffany. And the last wedding is between Bliss and Zach. Now, again, if you're here because you like me and not because you know what Love is Blind is, so in the pods, right? Zach had a connection with Bliss, but he also had a connection with a girl named Irene. Irene was BFFs with Micah, so you could assume Irene is trash. Irene is somehow a worse person than Micah. Shocking. I don't know how she did it, but she did. And in the pods, I knew that like Zach and Irene had a connection, but I never thought it went deep enough for him to choose her over Bliss. Him and Bliss are very similar people. They both have an affinity for owls. They both have the same wedding song picked out. And when during the whole like pod thing, Zach's birthday came up. Bliss remembered, stayed up, baked him cupcakes, told him happy birthday. Irene didn't even know it was this man's birthday. Like, me personally, I feel like Irene only liked Zach because she knew how much Bliss liked Zach. Because it just does not make any sense. And I don't understand Zach at all. I don't know what Irene was saying to him in the pods to make him not see that she was a horrendous, awful person. Whatever she said worked. Because in the end, he chose her. And then they meet each other, and she is completely not attracted to him. Not even a little bit. Which is funny because she then expresses after, because I said after they get engaged, they all go to this resort and then they all see each other. Irene is super attracted to Paul, which is Micah, her best friend on the show's fiance. In my opinion, Zach and Paul look very similar. They have the same serial killer look to them. Like, I don't really think they look that much different. I just think Paul maybe has like a stronger jawline and is taller. But I don't think they look that different from each other. It could be just because they're white men. But I think they're the same brand of white guy. But like the things with Zach and Irene fizzle out very quickly, and then he realizes that he's made a mistake and he goes back to Bliss and asks, can she forgive him and give him a second chance? And I feel like at first it really didn't seem like he was gonna get his chance, but I think now looking back at it, it's just that they're both super awkward. So in situations that feel like, oh, there's something off, something's wrong, there's really not anything wrong. They're just awkward people. I don't want to like diagnose anybody, but I feel like Zach spectrum. And that's coming from someone who has a sibling who is. I get those vibes with him. I get that same energy from Bliss. So maybe that's why they're both so not put off by each other's quirks and actually really enjoy each other. I was very nervous that Bliss was going to say no at the altar. Just because I was afraid her dad was going to get in her head, because her dad is super against her being with Zach. When Bliss is being like brought down the aisle, her mom and her dad are both there. They're divorced, and I fully understand why they're divorced. The tension, the feeling, yeah. Those are two people that had no business ever being together. And like the way that like until the bitter end, her father was so negative about everything. And it's like, you're about to give your daughter away. Can you please have something nice to say? Like just a little bit of kindness. I'm not asking you to be Zach's cheerleader, but like, can we bring it down just a little bit? And like, again, I can't do the second choice thing. I can't be your second choice. I'm a person who, like, I hold on to a lot of things. I don't think I'd ever really be able to move past that. And that's not good in those types of relationships. You need to be able to move on, forgive and forget. They ain't happening with me. But Bliss was like, no, I think he's my person. And Zach is weird. Zach is strange. I like him. I know I've seen a lot of other contestants, like female contestants, say they really don't like Zach. So I'm excited to see the reunion, because maybe some people can shed some light on it. Because I don't really see the issue about Zach outside the fact that he might be neurodivergent. Like, that might be why so many of the other contestants are so off-put by him. That just might be the issue, because I'm like, what we've seen and the way that Bliss seems to really like him, like, I don't know, he doesn't seem that bad. Like, I wouldn't want to date him, but like, that's just because we're very different people. It just wouldn't work. He's someone I'd like to be friends with, but I could never date him. But he's a cool person. I don't know. That's why I need to see the reunion, because maybe somebody could shed some light on like what's wrong with Zach. That's not like the issue is him being neurodivergent. You know what I mean? Like, I need real issues with Zach, not that he doesn't fit social norms. That's not a good reason. Also, like, I'm wondering if Zach and Bliss are still together, because I don't know. It feels like they're not. But I could be wrong. But some, I don't know, maybe because like he grew a beard, he grew his hair out long, and that's giving bachelor. We'll see. We'll see at the reunion. But they got to dance to their song. It was beautiful. Again, I still feel like Tiffany and Brett's wedding should have been last, but it was still, because their wedding was so short. Like the whole section was super super short compared to everyone else's. So I really feel like it shouldn't have been last. But I'm happy they both said yes. Again, because I'm not the one being chose second. I think that Zach and Bliss are great for each other. I really can't see them being with someone else or being able to find someone like each other. They just seem like very weird and awkward people, but they're the same type of weird and awkward. And I like them together. They get each other. I hope they're still together. It feels like they're not, but I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong. Oof, grammar. Bad. I've been on spring break. I haven't had a single thought. Hadn't had a single thought in a week. But I really hope things work out for them. Again, the reunion comes out tonight. I'm hoping, I am praying that the host asks good questions. I have several questions for Jackie. Several. All of them scathing. Because like the behind the scenes stuff about like how, because when Marshall and Janet broke up, how it's filmed, like they're supposed to be having their wedding fittings. So men getting their suits fit, women getting their dresses fit, and Jackie does not show up, and no, and she does not inform Marshall that she's not going. So Marshall goes to the suit fitting, thinking, I still have an opportunity to get married. She doesn't show up, and Tiffany tells Brett that she doesn't show up, and then Brett tells Marshall so he can stop embarrassing himself there. We then get a scene spliced in where we see Janet and Josh meeting up at a coffee shop. Josh asks if, Marshall knows she's here. She says, I don't care what he thinks. And they talk about their relationship and they decide to give each other a shot. She then goes back to the townhouse that she's staying with Marshall. They have a fight about the not informing him about her not going to the dress fitting. Now, in that scene, he asks her, was she with Josh? And she says yes. Now, since the episode aired, she said that they took that conversation from somewhere else and spliced it there. The thing is, I have my reservations on that. And then they break up. Now, Janet states that, like, the coffee shop scene did not happen first. Like, the day that she did not go to the dress fitting, she was not on a date with Josh, which I can believe. I do believe that. I don't believe that that is the first time she has sat down and talked to Josh. Their whole vibe, their whole dynamic, everything about them, that was not the first time they've seen each other. I would believe that she has been talking to Josh for weeks, and I think she got caught by production, and production said, you're gonna sit on this camera and give us this fucking scene. Because you're not gonna do anything behind our backs. That's the energy and vibe I get from Josh and Janet. I really don't. It's just Janet's whole thing about about Marshall not being manly enough. Like, this man wasn't reading sonnets to you in the pods. Marshall has never given hyper masculine alpha male energy. He's always gave like very in tune with his feelings and his emotions. So I'm confused where you want this overt manly thing from when you had that toxic masculinity from Josh. Like, that's where you lose me, Janet, because not at one point did Marshall ever give that he could give that type of energy. Like, not even a little bit. And I personally don't understand the attraction to Josh. Josh looks like if I touched him, he'd be slimy. Just real good. No, be nice. be nice. Because I have very mean and nasty things to say about Josh. Because you're a grown man with a dangly earring. You're not a good person. And it's just like, there's just something such a turnoff about men who can't hold their liquor. Because at Chelsea's like birthday party, Josh showed up and he was sloppy, doesn't even describe how drunk this man was. And it was just really a turn off to me. I don't know why, but seeing a man not be able to hold his liquor, like, I'm not about to take care of you and baby you. I hold my liquor very well. I'm gonna need you to as well. I'm not about to sit here all night and babysit you because you had one too many shots. It's just, ugh. This man just, it's the sloppiness, it's the sleaziness of it all. You can tell that Janet is not a grown woman yet. Because she still wants to play these games. She still wants to mess around with these fuckboys. It's like, if you want to get married, you need to look for a man with good qualities. And again, Marshall is not perfect. The project thing, and then when she showed up to the party, he forced her to wear his coat. Yeah, that was a red flag too. Don't try to change the way your partner dresses. You know what type of woman she is. If she like to go out and show a lot, you're gonna have to let that one go. I wasn't vibing with that make her wear a coat thing either. Don't do that. Don't try to dim her shine because she looked too good and make her wear a coat. No. When she said no, you should accept that no. That's where Marshall started to lose me a little bit. I ain't gonna hold you because I was just like, I hate when men do that. You know what type of women you're partnering with and then you try to make the women wear clothes. Cut that shit out. If you want to be with a nun, be with a nun. But I also believe that, like, him being with, like, have I been calling her Janet this whole time? Her name's Jackie. Oh well, his whole situation with Jackie, I feel like it really brought out the worst in him. Like, I feel like a lot of the things we were seeing from Marshall was his response to being in this very toxic situation. Is her name Janet or Jackie? Now I don't know. Where's my phone? Now I feel like really insecure because I feel like I've been saying her name wrong this entire time, which is very, very fair because I do that quite often. Her name is Jackie. I've been saying Janet this whole time. Whoopsie, sorry. Listen. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I had to memorize 10 people's names. I'm a terrible name person. At least I know what she looked like. Yikes. Sorry, Jackie. You're still a bad person, so I don't think it really matters. But so sorry. I'm so sorry. Why did I think her name was Janet? Do I have a bias for people named Janet? Like, do I think people named Janet are bad people? Maybe. I'm not unpacking that. But yeah, that's it for me. What are your guys' thoughts and opinions on Love is Blind Season 4? Who are your favorite couples? Who are your least favorite couples? Who were you surprised by their yeses? Who were you surprised by their nos? Do you hate Jackie? Or do you hate Marshall? Is it a mix of both? What are y'all feeling? I really would like to know. Happy to be back. I got braids. I got a new tattoo right here. Well, should I hold it this way, right? It's a Scream tattoo. Scream is my favorite, like, horror movie series. But yeah, that's it for me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.